we are breaking down all aspects of Yankee baseball. This is the Bronx Pinstripe Show with your hosts, Andrew Rotondi and Scott Reinen. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. Scott, welcome back to the program after your 2-episode hiatus.
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever had a 2-episode. Was it 2?
Well, I did an episode with Nick, and then I did an episode with Andy. Now, I think
one scheduled miss. The other one, we do the interviews solo anyway.
So I was looking. I think we've published. I was just looking at.
We're like at 700. I saw
almost 700. It's 692.
Yeah,
600. So this is the 693rd episode of the Bronx Pinstripe Show. I would say. So, other than the history episodes, which I know you were not on, so I think those were
to be fair,
you did back end work.
I was in the back end of that, which was, arguably worse.
Worse, maybe worse for the Roger Clemens one, but then we got better at it.
That's true. The Roger Clemens was a complete shit show,
and
just
it's actually
a complete shit show. And I was up till 4 a.m.
The final product is not how it was intended.
No, but it worked.
It's a little bit out of order.
Yes.
But it still sounds good. So of the 693 episodes, I would say maybe we've each missed fewer than 10 total, right?
Yeah, that's about right. Well, I mean, missed of our core episodes, because if you look at the guest interview episodes, we made a decision way back when to go one-on-one, just because there were better we felt there were better conversations, a better flow than being remote, with a third guest. It's tough to get that real conversational flow. And I know how when we have someone on, it's less of an interview, more of a conversation, and it's easier to do that one-on-one. So that was a chosen path.
Okay. So I guess 10 is obviously low. I meant certainly of like the core episodes, like you said.
You're burying a lead though on this. The major milestone is that we have never missed a week, ever.
That's right.
Since day one. We have never not published an episode on a given week, including no live baseball. We've never taken a break necessarily. We've never not published an episode since we started hitting record with our shitty blue Yetis on Skype, battling internet issues and Skype recording issues.
We've recorded from pretty much anywhere and everywhere. Sometimes the bad internet definitely hinders things, which is, I think, why the last 2 episodes, also your absence as you were moving, was certainly understandable. I want to start. So the Red Sox, they swept the Red Sox at Fenway Park. The Red Sox are done, right? They're just packing it in. They're getting ready for tea times in October. And it was clearly evident. I mean, the defensive laughable gaffes late in that game. Like, I felt bad for the center fielder for the Red Sox. Like, he clearly just is overmatched out there. And center field at Fenway Park is a hard place to play anyway, because you've got weird angles, you've got the walls. Like, it's a whole big thing. But dude, that guy was completely lost out there. And the Red Sox defense just handing Gleyber Torres the little league inside the park home run. So anything less than a 2-game sweep was going to be an epic failure by the Yankees. So the good news is they won these 2 games.
Even calling it a sweep in a 2-game set it feels dirty. It feels a little dirty. They won both games is what happened.
Right.
They won both games. Rob Refsnyder didn't play the wall necessarily great at the end of that game yesterday as well. And I will say the bat boy on initial, when that ball was going down the line, I saw the bucket fly. And I'm like, the kid threw the bucket at the ball to stop the ball. Like, I really thought he kicked the bucket to try to knock the ball down to kill the play. So all runners had to stop. I think his momentum from jumping into the stands, his ass pushed the bucket into play and made it a closer play on second review. But definitely thought there was a little. It might have been their best option, to be honest.
When Logan and I recorded after the Tampa game on Sunday, because Nick and I did during the rain delay, and then Logan and I came back, just talked for like 15 minutes. We were kind of optimistic. We were like, maybe this team has finally turned a corner. Like, after what I thought was another low point on Friday against the Rays on Derek Jeter night, when the Yankees just looked awful and lost yet again, to the Rays, like, I'm mentally preparing for them to get swept that weekend. I don't know how you felt after that Friday game, but that's how I felt. And then the fact that they bounced back and won 2 games handedly, I was like, okay, maybe this team has finally hit rock bottom and is on its way back up. And I'm not saying, they won 2 games after that. So, you're probably asking, where am I going with this? But I don't know. There's a lot of things in these 2 games, namely Gerrit Cole, once again, struggling and giving up home runs to a team that I understand has some good offensive players in it, but the Red Sox are not competing anymore. Like, Gerrit Cole giving
these
up
were not 2
runs.
Offensive players that you're expecting to get.
Yeah,
he got lit up by 2 young guys that were batting, in the 100s. So they had a Joey Gallo, Aaron Hicks stat line, and they took him deep. So
Cassis,
we're not looking
who is
at
this guy Cassis taking?
I didn't know half the players on the Red Sox, to be honest, when I'm watching the games.
And then
they trotted out a rookie pitcher. I'm like, oh, here we go. I've never heard of this guy. That's a problem. That's a problem for the Yankees. But thankfully, they finally got.
It's like, once again, you look at it, and Gerrit Cole, after he gave up the solo home run to start the bottom of the 3rd, he struck out 6 of the next 10 batters and retired 10 out of the next 11 batters. So it's like, you look at his final line, and it's not awful, but you see, like, the Yankees come back, and Marwin Gonzalez gets the home run, and Judge with the 2 home runs single-handedly just keeping the Yankees in that game, and Cole just, like, coughs it up immediately. I'm just sitting there watching that. I'm like, I'm losing faith in this guy to be the number 1 nut-up pitcher that the Yankees need him to be. I understand, again, I keep saying this, I understand he's good, he's got good numbers, but, like, don't allow all those home runs to Boston when they're in last place, please.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're beating a dead horse with him talking about this, because it's the same thing. It does seem like it's the same thing. We know what his stats say. We know when he looks dominant, like when he is pitching well, he looks like one of the most dominant pitchers in the league. When his fastball is going well and he's working off of his fastball, and they've talked about this on the broadcast, I feel like being mimicked, some of the things, like, this guy needs his fastball to be right. If he's not, David Cohn can talk about pitching and make it sound like sweet, sweet music. And when he's talking about the way that he's effective, it's all off the fastball. And when he's not locating that fastball early in the count, you see different things. But when he's up in the high 90s. There's a little bit of movement on it. He's nasty. He's very difficult to hit. But for whatever reason, when he gets off of that game plan, and he starts, trying to be too cute with his arsenal, that's when he gets in trouble. And then all of a sudden there's a fastball over the middle of the plate.
That can be applied to almost every pitcher in Major League Baseball, though. He
Correct,
needs to work,
but he's got the dominant stuff where when he applies that strategy, it's different, because his fastball is phenomenal, and he is usually able to locate it. And when he's painting corners, when he's using that fastball to his effectiveness, his fastball is just that much better than other people. So yes, there's a game plan that's not new. It's not just unique to Gerrit Cole, but when he's effectively implementing that game plan, he's that much better than everybody else.
When I just talked to Andy Martino, the episode that was published on Wednesday, he made an interesting point about Gerrit Cole, because he's had conversations with him, and he referenced the conversation he had with him after Cole got bombed in the 1st inning in that start against Seattle at home, and he talked to him for a long time, and Cole was like obsessing over like the minute details of like, oh, I threw a slider in this count and it should have been a fastball up and in, or I threw a fastball here and he was probably sitting on the fastball, so I should have thrown him the break. So like, he's like almost overthinks things, is what Andy was talking about. And sometimes when you're a pitcher of Gerrit Cole's talent, you just have to trust that and kind of keep it simple, stupid. And especially when you're facing some of these guys in the Red Sox order that I understand might be some pretty decent prospects, but they're still limited major league experience. You're not facing the heart of the Boston order when they're, making a playoff run. So it's like, I don't know, like at a certain point, I just need Gerrit Cole to stop trying to outthink the batter and just attack the batter and be better, because he has the ability to be better.
So one of the, I'm not going to say it was one of the best moments of my life, but it was up there with like a really cool moment, I think. And it was so simple. It was something very, 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 very minute. But on Saturday, or no, it was Sunday morning, we were moving out of the house, and a lot of the stuff was out, and we were basically camping out on the living room floor on the hardwood on like a mat,
air mattress.
Yeah. And Kemp had come down and was laying in bed, and we were putting something on for him so that we could finish what we were doing, and he would be occupied. And he wanted to put on The Sandlot, and nice. I was like, yes. This is the next day after, when we were looking at the slide at home plate where I forget who it was. This was I think it was Tampa. They called him out, but he ended up being safe. His hand was in, and Kemp was looking at the replay, watching it. He's like, his hand was in. I was like, what? What'd you just say? I was like, he said his hand was in. I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? He goes, that means he's safe. I was like, oh my God, you've been listening to me. You've been listening. You've been listening. Like, you don't acknowledge me. You don't, say that you're listening, but you have been listening. Anyway, in The Sandlot, when he chose The Sandlot, I was like, this is a moment. Like, I feel like I've turned a little bit of a corner, because I didn't tell him to do that. He chose it. Mm-hmm. And in The Sandlot, the biggest thing is, don't think. They're looking at Scotty Smalls, and they're like, if you weren't thinking, you wouldn't have thought that. To swiping Babe Ruth ball. So the Gerrit Cole, he does need to stop thinking so goddamn much and use the talent that is in his body, and stop trying to be too damn cute. I think when he gets too mental and too wrapped in his head, he's trying to be too perfect. The perfectionism is becoming an issue for him in game, in moments, in at bats. And, pure speculation here, but he is one of those guys who wants and needs everything to go perfectly for him, or he's not satisfied. And sometimes I think his own perfection can get in his way. And, during the playoffs, late season in a race, like, you just got to let the adrenaline take over and trust your abilities almost, and look to, and have the trust that your catcher is going to put down, or the robot's going to tell you the correct thing in your head, and then you just execute it. Just throw it, and good things will happen.
Andy said another thing. By the way, that's awesome that like you kind of Miyagi'd Kemp, and it's like all of a sudden he's putting on The Sandlot, and he's like that's right. understanding plays in baseball that like you haven't necessarily told him directly, but indirectly you've been talking about. So
he said his hand was in there. I was like, what did you just say?
I can't wait for that moment. It's definitely a few years off, but I'm referencing the episode with Andy. Again, guys, if you haven't listened to it, we went in depth on Cashman and his future. And like Andy said, it's not a given that Cashman's back next year, which is definitely, an interesting wrinkle to how this season plays out. But he said of Gerrit Cole, he knows when it's a big game. Now, obviously, everybody should understand when it's a big game, or when it's a Tuesday against the Royals. Like, you understand. But like, if I'm going to read between the lines in that, Gerrit Cole's thinking about how big of a game it is and how he wants to be so good. Like, I truly believe he wants to be that universally loved Yankees ace that nuts up in the playoff moment, and like is on the highlight reel 20 years from now when he gets invited back to Old Timers Day, which is great. And I love that he wants that. We all want that for him. But if you're thinking that out on the mound, or you're thinking that in the dugout before first pitch, you can't possibly be on your best game when you're out there, because you're not thinking about just the game. You're thinking about the moment. And the whole point is block out the moment and just execute. Right?
Execute and only execute. Yes. It's not like he hasn't had blunders in big games either. I mean, he's had blunders in big games. There's definitely been, but yes, I agree. Like, even in that, you're framing a moment that he's like setting up for, that he gets up for. But it's almost like he's choosing to get up for that, rather than it just actually happening. When you talk about some of the great players that have, good postseason numbers, or just, that type of guy that you can rely upon in a postseason or a big moment, it's almost like they're the same dude, like nothing bothers them. Whereas you're talking about Gerrit Cole in a position that he's thinking about it. Oh, this is a big game. I'm I'm going to be better. Like his body is saying, or his mind is saying, like, I'm going to get up for this game, when that should just naturally happen. That should just be it shouldn't be a thought that you're thinking in your head. It should just be like your body is feeling and sensing the adrenaline, is ready for the opportunity. Pressure is a privilege. So allow that privilege to take place, and just execute as you have confidence in your body and your abilities and your mechanics and your catcher and your team and all of those things. And yeah, stop thinking about it so damn much.
He said pressure is a privilege, but I don't believe that's what he truly believes.
I believe that he believes that. He believes
that, but he doesn't actually believe that.
I believe that he believes that, but at the same time, he thinks about it,
right,
knowing that there's pressure, and that it's a privilege, and that I'm privileged to be in this pressure spot. Whereas, like, guys who are just ice and nails in big moments are just like, it's every other game. There is no pressure, but it's every other game.
No, I know it is. The cliche is, you execute the same way in a playoff game that you do in a regular season game, because it's still legitimately the same game, right? 3 balls, or 3 strikes, 4 balls, 3 outs, blah, 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 blah. I compare, like, I think the last Yankees ace was CC Sabathia before Gerrit Cole. Like, the true ace where he's pitching a playoff game, you're putting your feet up on the couch and you're ready to go. Like, you have full confidence. Back in 09, 10, 11, 12, when he was on top of his game, CC Sabathia was as fired up as any pitcher I've ever seen for the Yankees. He was not that way during a regular season game. Like, certain regular season games, sure, but a regular, run-of-the-mill game, he was not going to be screaming at the top of his lungs when he got a big strikeout. But in the playoffs, he was amped up, but he was still able to be in the moment and just execute in the moment, even though he was probably more amped up than any other time throughout the season. And so there's that's where I feel Gerrit Cole might be lacking. He could prove us wrong. I freaking hope he proves us all wrong. And he has a fantastic postseason this year, and the Yankees make a deep run. But if he doesn't, it's like, we have to look at the scoreboard. Like, you have to look at what has actually happened. And what has actually happened with Gerrit Cole is he has not performed to his capabilities in big moments and in big games and against key opponents more often than not.
Wearing a Yankees uniform.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I don't give a fuck what he did with the Astros or the...
I know, but you go back to that, and you think about that God-given ability, and you think about what he has done in postseason, and he was dominant. And, in 2019, he was dominant. The numbers that he put up...
He wasn't the number 1 guy in 2019 for
that's
the
true.
Astros.
So maybe the pressure, which was a privilege for somebody else, wasn't on him, so it was okay.
Justin Verlander, we know, handles that pressure, relishes that pressure.
Yes.
He thinks it is truly a privilege. Gerrit Cole thinks pressure is a privilege as long as it's not me pitching on the mound.
But in 2019, he started 5 games. I'm looking at the numbers here.
Great. He was great.
Pitched 36 innings. 36
awesome.
Innings.
He was fantastic. That's why he got the highest paid pitching contract in Major League Baseball history. He was the best pitcher on the planet between the second half of 2018 through the 2019 season, including the 2019 playoffs. By far and away the best pitcher.
He gave up 21 hits in 36 innings, and had a K rate of 11 and a half.
He's still striking out a crap ton of people with the Yankees every time out. Like, I'm not worried about his ability to strike batters out. Okay, but you're right. We're probably beating a dead horse with this, and like, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to make a vow. Let's not talk about this aspect of Gerrit Cole for the rest of the regular season, and we'll pick it up again in the playoffs. Like, I know.
Let me I got to get one more little Festivus.
All right, get one more shot in.
One more shot. When Boone told him that he was going to come out of the game, you saw the interaction in the dugout between Boone and Blake and Cole. And Cole was animated. Cole was mad. I didn't hear all the commentary of what Kay and the broadcast was saying at that moment. But when I'm looking at that situation, it looked like that he was mad that he was getting pulled out of the game. How about you not get mad that you're getting pulled out of the game after 6 innings and be mad at yourself for giving up 4 runs in 6 innings? How about that? Because 4 runs in 6 innings is a number 5 starter.
It's not a good ERA.
That is like a not great number 5 starter. There's nothing good about 4 runs in 6 innings. Nothing. Nothing good about that.
Especially when they all came on home runs. It's not like they're dinking and dunking you and they're like, you're just getting unlucky. No, okay. One of the home runs was cheap. It was a pesky pull shot, but the other home runs were
not cheap. We can't call them cheap. We're not allowed to do that. The thing is no, because we have our own. Everybody has their thing. Okay. Everybody has their issues. All right. Everybody, whether you see them or not.
You're talking about Fenway Park's issue.
Oh yeah. Fenway Park. Definitely. Okay. Yeah. For sure. Not people, but, the problem I have with that interaction is like, bro, what are you watching this? Are you in the same game we're watching right now? Are you in the same moment that we are all living as fans, looking at you doing this thing? And then you're going to get mad because they're pulling you out of the game early because your pitch count's in a decent spot, but you've given up 4 and 6. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You should put your head down, go take a shower, sit on the bench and watch the rest of the game and be a good teammate instead of being a little, crybaby about getting pulled.
That's not
when
what
you deserved it.
That's not the word.
Well, it's too harsh. I'm not trying to
especially when
they're playing well. They're playing better right now, so I'm not my head's in a good spot. It's just I need him to be in a great spot. We all have a deeper expectation for him. That's what it is.
And at that point, it's like the decision is, okay, is another inning of Gerrit Cole better than the bullpen right now? And at that point in the game, it wasn't, especially because the bullpen's been stepping up. It's particularly Loizaga, who
I think Lucas Licky came in though.
No, I know, but what I'm saying,
I'm just saying,
the bullpen in general.
Hey Gerrit, I think Lucas Licky gives us a better chance in the 7th inning. Maybe that was the conversation. And if that was the conversation, then okay, I understand Gerrit Cole getting upset. Lucas Licky gives us a better opportunity to win. If Boone said that, then he has the right to be
that is right, because that would not be true. But
right.
but I have to trust he didn't actually say that to Gerrit Cole, because I feel like he would have got slapped in the face. Yeah,
he's a player's manager. He knows how to communicate.
Another thing that Kay, Flaherty, and Cone were talking about on the broadcast, that maybe the extra rest for Cole was a negative factor.
Oh, come on.
He was too rested.
Sorry.
Because Scott, you know how bad you feel when you get too much sleep. Like
yeah,
you wake up and you're just like, oh, I had like 9 solid hours of sleep. Oh, I feel terrible.
If my brain
you're used to running on 4.5 hours of sleep. So.
If my brain could go back that far, then I would remember what that felt like. But yeah, no. By the way, side note, I think, and maybe I don't know if this is a popular take or it's like a very unpopular take. I'm not sure. But I feel that John Flaherty in the booth with David Cone and Kay has been very good. I've actually enjoyed John Flaherty a hell of a lot more this year than I have. And maybe it's because usually Flaherty was like sent to Minnesota with
Oakland. John Flaherty exclusively calls Oakland games. He
goes to Minnesota too, but he goes to like places that other people don't want to go. And when he's with Kay, like sometimes it's like a little off. But I thought he was when you have that catcher pitcher, it's almost like they have like a role with he and Cone talking about the different things. I don't know. It just feels like Flaherty's hit another level this year. He's not as monotone. Like I feel like he's really he brings really good deep insight. But he's not everybody's cup of tea. I understand, but I think it's been an improvement.
When he is not the lead or just the second guy in the booth, like when he does those West Coast trips, he's usually there with. I don't even know. Like I know Kenny Singleton, Ruocco or Kenny Singleton used to do them, and sometimes Flaherty would do the play-by-play. And when the play-by-play guy is so sort of deadpan, it gets a little monotonous. But like I even made this point earlier in the season when it was Beltran, Kay, and Flaherty in the booth, and Flaherty was setting up.
We haven't heard from Beltran in a while, have we?
No. Yeah. I think the Yes Network realized what was happening. Yeah. But when Flaherty set up Beltran to actually give in-depth baseball insights, it was actually really good. It was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he's a smart dude. And I think sometimes, he comes across as trying to be too smart occasionally, but no, I think he's found a nice little flow.
Quickly on the Loizaga numbers. So since the All-Star break, 13 games, 14 innings pitched, 0.64 ERA, and only a 109 batting average allowed, 255 OPS allowed. And in his last 9 games, he's thrown 10 1/3 innings, struck out 8, has not allowed an earned run. And I know, so actually after the second game, after game 2, he did give up a run. So
it was he got unlucky too, though. There were some bad. I mean, Marwin Gonzalez. The
Marwin Gonzalez thing. Like I don't even blame Marwin Gonzalez. He's not a first baseman. It's just like
shouldn't be there.
It shines a spotlight on how important the Yankees need to get an actual first baseman back, whether it's Rizzo or whether it's LeMahieu.
Absolutely. We talked about this the last show I was on, I think. And we were, Marwin Gonzalez is being a good soldier going out there and playing first base. He's probably doing a better job than anybody could out there right now. So, yeah, I'm not mad at him for booting that ball. Like, it's going to happen. He's not going to make every single play. He's out there playing a position that he's not fully familiar with. And I know he rotates around and he can play a lot of different positions, and that's why he's there. But, you can't expect a Anthony Rizzo or LeMahieu level, glove over there those things are going to happen. But you're right. It's magnifying the need, and it's magnifying the glaring hole when that guy's not there too. I mean, not only with the glove, but that's a big bat. Whether it's LeMahieu or Rizzo, that's not there as protection for Judge or whomever. And I know Gleyber's swinging a much better bat going Oppo Taco Gleyber, but that bat is much needed in there. Both of those bats, actually.
While we're on the topic, Rizzo is potentially going to be activated this weekend against the Brewers, and we did get a submission, a mailbag submission. Not happy with your diagnosis of why Anthony Rizzo was having headaches.
To be very fair here to myself, I admitted this is not my area of expertise. This is not my domain. This is not my domain.
It's from
clearly I was very off.
Gynecologic oncologist.
Gynecologic, which okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of big words in here, which is why I'm delaying starting to read this, but I'm going to give it a shot. Listening to the podcast this week, and I'm hearing Dr. Scott get confused about the epidural.
I don't know why you had to say Dr. Scott like that.
You can read into how I'm emphasizing words however you want. The epidural is supposed to provide pain relief and relaxation to the muscles below the dermatomy. Google an image of those. I'm going to pass, Joe.
Dermatome? Dermatome?
Oh, it's dermatome? God, this is why I didn't go to medical school. Different from a cortisone injection, which is a steroid to decrease inflammation. While not commonly used in this setting because of how invasive it is being used to break the pain cycle with back pain and allow muscle relaxation. The reason Rizzo is having headaches is because they messed up when they placed it. Interesting. And actually punctured the, quote, dura, which is covering the spinal column, epidural being above the dura. This is a relatively common complication of the procedure and results in headaches when you sit up, but go away when you lay down. When recognized in the first 48 hours, you can apply a blood patch to try and close the puncture hole, but otherwise you just have to wait a few weeks for the body to heal. That's actually interesting that it sounds like common that this mess up happens, but of course the Yankees doctors messed up giving Anthony Rizzo, first baseman, an epidural.
Yeah, I mean, can we just draw the circle on his back, put the dot in the middle, and hit the dot? What's so difficult about that?
Get a target on there.
Yeah, you ever seen Pulp Fiction? It's not that difficult.
So, I mean, hopefully Rizzo can be back this weekend.
That was adrenaline. For it to be clear, I understand that that's an adrenaline shot, not an epidural in Pulp Fiction. Just so everybody's aware here. I'm going to get any more mailbags. I understand.
So Rizzo's bat would certainly be helpful, but I think even a 70% Rizzo, 70% LeMahieu, if they can play better first base, even if they're not.
Well, I don't know, man. We saw what a 70% LeMahieu looked like, and it wasn't good defensively.
Would you rather have a 70% LeMahieu at first base or Marwin Gonzalez? Like, I'd rather have a 70% LeMahieu.
Well, that's a question that has some nuance to it, because it's not as easy as you just said that. I would rather have DJ LeMahieu resting to become much more than 70%.
Not talking about right now. I'm saying if at the best case scenario for the playoffs is DJ LeMahieu can only be 70%. It sounds like Rizzo is a lot closer, or definitely closer than DJ to getting back. So this is might be a moot point. Like, I don't know what DJ's status is going to be for the playoffs. Like, it's honestly, we're kind of running out of time here.
Well, he's going to be able to play. We know that he can play. He will trot out there and play. It's a matter of how effective he will be. So defense, I'm not worried about it. LeMahieu will be fine over there defensively. it's the way that he hits and where where he's having that foot issue. I think that is the problem. He doesn't have his power behind it. And as we've seen, the guy, he's not getting any extra base hits. He's a shell of himself at the plate because he can't generate the same power and the same swing that he is used to with his mechanics. And that's the problem. So the R&R is, from everything they've said, like a short-term R&R wasn't going to make a big deal. Obviously they're trying it. And he needs just like a good amount of rest getting off that foot for it to be fully healthy. So I do expect him to come back at not, at a lesser degree than 100%. But yeah, of course, we want him back at 100% and see what happens. But, that leash might be shorter with him in the sense that if they're looking for a particular thing at the plate, he's not able to generate that power. If he's not able to, generate the same type of mechanics that he's used to, there may be a shorter leash with him because of that. So I have a feeling they're going to go out, run him out there and see what happens. And that's why they're waiting. Like DJ's the type of guy that can walk out there, get some wet swings in the clubhouse, and then just like pick up a bat, rub some dirt on it, and go play.
No, wet swings are with a baseball being thrown at you.
Yeah, in the tube.
Okay, got it. Well, this is also, Gleyber's starting to hit a lot better over the past week or week and a half, which is good. Kind of putting less importance on LeMahieu rushing back because Gleyber is really starting to produce, and it is much needed. Like you look at that extra innings situation in the Tuesday game, and after the Yankees looked like they were going to not score in that inning because of the double play ball by Marwin, of course they intentionally walked Judge. Like we've been saying, I don't know why more teams aren't just intentionally walking Judge, because if you throw him a strike, it's leaving the ballpark. And then they kind of pitched to Stanton. It was a 5-pitch walk. But then Gleyber made him pay, and he got the opposite field hit. And he's been going opposite field a lot. We saw the home run earlier in the week go to opposite field. Ilya, you pulled some numbers here. I have a question about these numbers. So it says 2022 opposite field. He's got a 320 batting average on balls in play and a 213 WRC plus. And then on pull balls this year, he's got a 232 batting average on balls in play. So obviously much less. But a 142 WRC plus, which is still very, very good, like 42% above league average. So is this only on balls in play? All right, I guess that's true, because I just answered my own question.
So the numbers are going to look good because it is a balls in play. Yeah. But I think what I was really pulling to look at here is you can see the numbers from 2018 till now. And his numbers pulling the ball used to be in 2018, it was, a 1.224 OPS.
Well,
and now it's a .859. Still a good number, but that's not taken into consideration.
This is actually, now that I'm looking at these trends, you look at pull numbers, WRC plus, starting in 2018, 233, 196, 159, 117 in 2021. And so you see the decline there. Obviously, that coincides with hitting fewer home runs. But Scott, you talked at length about how, Gleyber Torres is just so pull happy at the plate.
He was flying out. That was one of the biggest things, that he was coming out of his his hips were flying open really early, and because he was going all or nothing on the pull side of the ball, and he wasn't staying back, wasn't staying through the ball, and that's where he is right now. He's staying closed, he's staying through the ball, the bat is staying through the zone longer, and he's able to hit. And that's one of the big adjustments. I've talked about this 100 times, but that was the I think the key pivotal adjustment that Judge made after 2016, and he was able to clean that up, because Judge goes opposite field. Judge is up the field. Judge is hitting line drives. Judge, when he found his groove, he was hitting line drives, making good contact with the ball, keeping the bat plane or the bat barrel in the strike zone and in the plane as long as possible. I'm choking on myself. And when you see guys going the opposite field, this is the Cameron Maybin middle of the field approach. Yes, you go opposite way, but you have a lot more room for error with where the ball is traveling, because your bat's in there longer and you're staying close. Your hips are staying close so that you're able to get to that ball at different depths of the plate. So yeah, it's so clear what he needs to do. It's just a matter of him being able to repeat that and stay disciplined and staying in those mechanics.
Yeah, and then the same year-over-year splits on WRC plus for opposite field approach. In 2018, 94 WRC plus, then 122, 34 in 2020, which is, mind-blowingly low. I don't even know. I guess if his approach in 2020, which he had a terrible season in 2020, but if your approach is just try and pull everything, then you're not going to drive the ball to right field. There's just going to be weak pop-ups. 2021.
And you can see him when he's not going well. He's like out in front. He's out on his weight shifts early, hips fly open, and he's he's out on his front foot earlier. Whereas the transfer load when he's going opposite way, like he's staying back, hands back, being patient through the zone, and then bam, quick hands to the ball, is able to go to right field so easily. You can really see it in his lower half. That's the biggest thing. When you're looking at his lower half, you can see, how when he's on and locked in, his lower half is staying patient and he's staying back on the ball.
It's been such a bizarre season for him because he really did have a solid first half. And then up until like 2 weeks ago, he was awful in the second half. Like doing absolutely
one of the worst in the league. Like he had bottom of the league stats from the All-Star break.
Right. Just I don't know. I can't, you can't explain these swings in performance from Gleyber.
Sleep cycles of the child. Do they?
Yeah. When was the baby born? Actually, this is good because we have experience with this. When was it? Ilya, look up when was his baby born?
Ilya, all three of us can relate here. This is an area. And also, does he struggle? When do these struggles come? Is it when there's a long homestand, and the sleep cycle is not happening as much, or does he start getting better?
His road numbers better?
Yeah.
March.
Oh, March. Okay, so right now the baby's
my brother's birthday. Shout out to Howard.
The baby is like 5, going on 6 months old.
He'll be 6 months old in 5 days.
Okay, so yeah, you should be starting to get more sleep now. The 3, but I mean, come on.
Gleyber has a night nanny. Come on.
I know.
We all know Gleyber has a night nanny.
I was going to say.
I didn't know a night nanny was a thing until I heard someone like, you have a what? You have a what?
Yeah,
someone come in and like, what?
Scott, you didn't have a night nanny?
Oh my God. No, I did not have
We had a night nanny.
Oh.
Yeah, name was Andrew Rotandi.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. Maybe the night nanny quit for a period of time. Maybe the baby was difficult and the night nanny quit. Gleyber was up feeding bottles in the middle of the night, changing diapers. If you're not if your wife is not breastfeeding, you gotta wait and sit there with the bottle warmer. It takes like 5 minutes at 3 a.m. Like that's not fun. You're not gonna be ready to go for certainly a 1 p.m. game, never mind a 7 p.m. game.
Burn the shit out of your hand a couple times. Yeah.
But in all seriousness, if Gleyber can get back to his first half performance, I mean, that's such a huge boost to this lineup because do you think, so this is a question I was thinking about for the lineup construction because we've seen Judge leading off. Do you think this is just a byproduct of the rest of the injuries, or is this going to be something they might stick with?
I think if LeMahieu is right, LeMahieu can be in that spot. But at the end of the day, they're just trying to get Judge more at bats, and honestly, it's working. Like he's coming up in big moments at the end of games too. Like he's obviously the leadoff batter is going to get the most at bats of anybody on the team, and he's the best player on the team. The problem is if you can't have the protection right behind him. Also, him being in the leadoff spot is really interesting because if you can put I feel like a guy like IKF or someone who can handle the bat a little bit in that 9 spot, it really gives them protection. If someone has a good barrel percentage or someone who's able to, handle fastballs over the plate, better than another guy, like that number 9 guy with Judge up next is going to get a lot of pitches, and they don't need to do much. They just need to get on base. They need to, someone who has good bat to ball skills. That's why a guy like Benintendi was so important, having a bat to ball skills. It allows then you get like a Kiner Falefa to then be further down and he's a good 9 spot guy in this roster if fully healthy. So it does add another little wrinkle to the bottom of the lineup.
How are you feeling about Clay Holmes right now? Because both of the end of the games were interesting for the Yankees. Now, especially in the game yesterday, he gives up the leadoff double, but then you just see his stuff is just so nasty that it's not like you're not necessarily worried about the Red Sox stringing together hits. What you're worried about is like him walking or hitting batters or throwing wild pitches and stuff. So his stuff is still so filthy that even when they make contact, I know the double went off the wall, but in reality, that's not really like a pummel double, right? Like that's a Fenway Park wall ball double.
But again, like everything else, going back to the Gerrit Cole conversation here, if you can't get ahead on a count, if you can't lead with your dominant stuff, if you're not on the plate, you're not that as effective. And now people can spot a zone and look for something over the plate just sit on it.
I'm drawing a blank on who's that center fielder's name for the Red Sox. He was in the Yankee system, they said. I'm just drawing a blank on his name. He had him ducking on a sinker in the middle of the plate, okay? This dude, it wasn't it was, who came in? Was that wasn't, I don't even know. Anyway, I forget who it was.
Refsnyder was in the outfield.
No, but it was who hit the double off of Holmes in the ninth inning on Wednesday.
It was Almonte.
Earlier in that at bat, he ducked out of the way on a sinker in the middle of the plate. That's how much movement the sinker has. Okay, so that's how the type of stuff that Holmes is dealing right now, or has been dealing all season. It's just the command and the wildness that I guess is the thing that you're concerned about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you can't throw the ball over the plate, I don't care what the movement looks like. If it's not over the plate, then don't swing at it. You know what I mean? Like you're looking for a fastball over the plate. That's all you're looking for, essentially, or something without a little bit of movement. Like at that point, if you are wild, then these guys can dial in on a particular zone and look for a particular pitch. And it's no longer a guessing game. You're just laying off of the pitches that aren't the one you're looking for because the guy can't throw a strike. That's the problem.
And I guess my favorite moment from the two games was the Nestor's strikeout of
oh my God. It was so good
on the funky windup.
He made him look so dumb.
I was like, maybe Gerrit Cole should borrow that to get Devers out.
That would be hilarious if Gerrit, I would my respect factor would go up for Gerrit Cole if I saw a little leg twitch. He would pull like a calf muscle or something though. Something would go wrong. But that little shimmy in the middle of that delivery by Nestor Cortes was beautiful. It was like poetry. It was awesome.
A lot of times when he does it, it ends up being a ball, and you're kind of like, that's fun, but would rather you just do regular and throw a strike. But when it does work, and you get Devers, who's one of the best hitters in baseball, to look that stupid, it's all worth it. It's all so worth it.
I like it. Even when it's a ball, it's he's just showing the different look. Like it's still effective to a point, right? He's doing what he wants to do. He's showing different look, different speed, different angle, whatever it looks like. And that one in particular just had so many it's like he rolled his toes around. Like it was just, there were so many movements that were phenomenal in that. So it was fun. That was fun to watch.
Couple other injury updates. Aroldis Chapman is expected to be activated Friday, back from leg infection.
How do we feel about that?
We
don't know what to feel about that.
Pitching meaningful innings.
I mean, if he's throwing strikes, he's very good.
Yeah, great. Harrison Bader could rejoin the team next week. Join for the first time. We're seeing him on a field. That's a positive. That's a positive. And Britton is continuing his rehab, now pitching with Scranton. Miguel Castro also pitched in Double-A, and Matt Carpenter is expected to get a second X-ray sometime soon.
Nothing on Benintendi, though.
No, I think like the earliest we're going to see Benintendi anyway is the last week of the season.
Yeah, I would like to hear something on him, like there's some progression at least. But that's a tough one because, I mean, Bader just becomes that much more important, I guess. And I don't know what to expect from him. We all know we see his stats. We hear about the defense. So I don't know what to expect necessarily from the play. But Benintendi to me is such a crucial piece of this lineup going into the postseason. And for him to be not healthy or for him to be a piece of this is like, there are a lot of unknowns right now, which is a little, and I get it. Like, I think in regular I think if there were if things were a little closer, if things were a little different, we'd probably see some of these guys sooner. But because of the situation, because of the, they're still an arm's length away, 7.5 games with Toronto and Tampa. They're holding back these guys and making sure they're as healthy as humanly possible for this last run. So this last week of the season will be really interesting to see who's popping up.
The series win against Tampa last weekend kind of put them at arm's length and put them in a hole. They also have a really tough schedule the rest of the way. The Yankees play the Blue Jays.
Tampa does.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Tampa has a tough schedule. The Yankees play the Blue Jays in Toronto starting September 26th, which is a little less than 2 weeks away. The Blue Jays are 6 back right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10. The Yankees are 8-2 in their last 10. I guess that becomes interesting if the Blue Jays can. Definitely becomes interesting if the Blue Jays can somehow cut 2 more games off of the lead right now before that series, because then that puts them in a position where if they sweep, they're just like a game back with a week to go. But that's really the last threat, I think, in the division.
So today is the 15th. Today's the 15th. And when you're looking at the Blue Jays schedule as well, they got Baltimore. They got one more against Tampa today. They got 3-game set, Baltimore in Toronto. Then they go on the road to Philly, to Tampa, the 3-game set with the Yankees at home. And then they go to then Boston goes to Toronto, and then they have Baltimore. So, they have a tough schedule. Finishing
tougher than the Yankees. The Yankees have a fairly easy schedule the rest of the way.
Yeah, knock on wood.
So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. The Yankees are facing George Costanza on Sunday. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
It's Gerrit Cole versus Jason Alexander.
Oh, got it.
Should be fun. Just expect a lot of Seinfeld references from us on Monday and from the Yes Booth on Sunday.
Yeah, there will be definitely lots of Seinfeld references, no doubt about it.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to submit some mailbag questions for Monday's episode. You can tweet us, all that good stuff, and we'll talk to you guys then.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Bronx Pinstripes Show. Make sure you find us on iTunes and subscribe so you can get all new episodes directly onto your phone. If you do like the show, we'd love for you to take a minute and give us a 5-star rating and review in iTunes. It really helps us out and allows us to create more shows. We're on Twitter at Bronx Pinstripes and the same on Facebook. You can always find us there talking Yankee baseball. Thanks again, guys, for your support. Really appreciate it, and go Yankees.